Hi, everybody. This is Susan Livingston, your nursing coach. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Nursing the Livingston Way. And you might ask yourself, what is this, the dancing nurse, all about? Well, I've been a nursing instructor for almost 20 years, and my students always loved it when I could bring music into the classroom and a little dance to act out what I was demonstrating. Plus, I love music, I love dancing. I might not be that good at it, but I love it. It makes me happy, and maybe it'll make you happy too. So, one of my biggest goals here with my channel is to help anybody, really, a nursing student, a veteran nurse, a new nurse, become unconfused. There's so much to learn in nursing, and we need to get unconfused because a confused student makes a confused nurse, and we don't need confused nurses out there. Plus, my goal is to not only get you unconfused, but to maybe make you happy in the process and make things a little bit more clear. So today, we're going to talk about cardiac electricity, normal sinus rhythm. And students historically that I've run into make this harder than it needs to be. And it's not really hard at all. So let's get unconfused and let's have some fun. Here's what normal sinus rhythm looks like. As you can see, it's got a series of little bumps and spiky things. And at the end of this section today, we will understand what those things mean. So sit back, give me about 20 minutes, and we will get unconfused. Before we get into the cardiac electricity, we have to understand the heart itself. And students don't seem to really understand this either. I know they learned it back in anatomy when they were new in nursing school. They probably memorized it, and then they quickly forgot it, is at least my experience. And we're going to try to understand this better so we can understand the electricity. The heart has two sides, the right side and the left side. And I want to remind you, you as the nurse is always looking at your patient. So this is the right side of my right hand. This is my left hand. This is the right side of my heart. This is the left side of my heart. So turn back around. We're looking at the patient. This is the right side. It's the left side. The heart has two sides. They are both pumps. As you can see, they are making a pumping action. The only difference is where they are pumping to and what type of blood is in them. But they're pumping at the same time. The right side takes deoxygenated blood full of carbon dioxide, sends it out to the lungs, and the left side takes oxygenated blood and sends it out to the body. Now the heart has four chambers, or four Tupperware containers, if you will, that are going to fill up with blood and then release their blood. The four chambers are, at the top, you have the right atrium and the left atrium, and at the bottom, you have the right ventricle and the left ventricle. And what you have to know is the two sides are working at the same time. But what the top chamber is doing on one side, the bottom chamber is doing something different. For instance, if the right atrium is pushing out blood, then the right ventricle is filling up with blood, and vice versa. And that's happening on both sides of the heart at the same time. So just to recap that, blood flows into the atria, right atria, left atrium at the same time. The atria fill up with blood, and then the atria are going to contract or push out their blood. So act like this is the top part of me is my atria, right atria, left atrium. And we're going to fill up, and then we're going to push, okay? Then when we push out our blood, the ventricles fill up with blood. Now that'll be the bottom part of my body, and you can't see that. But when the ventricles fill up with blood, then they're going to push. And the right ventricle will push blood to the lungs, and the left ventricle will push blood to the body. And that's happening at the same time on both sides of the heart. A beating heart has two separate distinct movements based on these pushing abilities. One when the atria contract or push, and one when the ventricles contract or push. And that's going to give us two distinct movements. And it goes from top, bottom, atria, ventricles, atria, ventricles. And we will see that here on this beating heart, this animation. You can see two distinct movements, top, bottom, atria, ventricles, atria, ventricles. Now, in order for that to pump, and we want it to pump, you have to have an electrical impulse. And you're like, what's that all about? Well, it just takes the electrolytes of our bloodstream and turns it into electricity. And here are the four main electrolytes in our bodies that nurses have to know. And we need normal amounts of these electrolytes: potassium, sodium, calcium, and magnesium. You have to know these normal values. I'm not going to go over them now, but you can see them. And of all of these, they're all important, but potassium is the most crucial for our heart to function, and nurses should know that, because if any electrolyte, especially potassium, gets too high, too low, this is going to get pissed off, and it could be fatal. So, for the electricity to occur, let's say this is the bloodstream coming in to the heart, and I'm going to say E for electrolytes. The electrolytes are going to go into the heart right here in a group of cells called the SA node, and it's in the right atrium of the heart. Okay, and it's going to take those electrolytes out of the bloodstream and turn them into electricity. Okay, so that's called the sinoatrial node, SA node, and if you look at it, you'll see the word atrial, and that tells you that it's in the atrium. Or you could also call it the sinus node, and I want you to remember that here in a minute. Then that electricity that's generated right there is going to shoot over here to the left atrium, because if you're going to talk to the right side of the heart, you have to talk to the left side of the heart at the same time, because they both pump together simultaneously. Then the electricity, and that's called the automatic pacemaker of the heart, the sinus node or sinoatrial node, because it automatically takes that electricity or electrolytes and turns it into electricity so my heart can beat. Once we have stimulated the top chambers of the heart, we're going to send the electricity down to another group of cells called the atrial ventricular node, or the AV node. And if you can tell by looking here, atrial ventricular, it's like it's between the atria and the ventricles. So if here's the atria, here's the ventricles, you can clearly see that the AV node is almost between the two. When the electricity goes down to the AV node, it's going to pause just briefly. It's going to hold it. And the reason you have to know about that pause is because electricity flows fast and blood flows a little bit slower. So if we didn't pause that electricity at the AV node, and we didn't pause it, the electricity would get to the ventricles before the blood did, and the ventricles would contract and the blood wouldn't be down there yet. So we have to kind of coordinate it. So SA node fires, goes down to the AV node, hold it, allow blood to get down to the ventricles, and then we'll send the electricity on. When we send it on, it goes right down the middle, called the bundle of His, right down the middle. Then we're going to branch off, called the right bundle branch and the left bundle branch. So we're branching off so we can talk to the right ventricle and the left ventricle at the same time. Then we're going to reach down into the ventricular muscle with little finger-like projections called the Purkinje fibers. And that is the pathway from top to bottom that our electricity flows, because that's the direction blood flows, is from top to bottom. So this is how, let's just recap how it's going to go. SA node takes the electrolytes that's in the right atrium, shoots it over to the left atrium, the atria will contract. We'll send the electrical impulse down to the AV node. Hold it. Let the blood get down there, then send the electricity on down the pathway, down the bundle of His, down the right bundle branch, down the left bundle branch, and then so forth and so on to the Purkinje fibers. And when we do that, here's what we will see. The SA node generated, went over there, paused, and send it on down. And that's what's going to make our heart beat. Now, what's going to happen? We have to know this for NCLEX. When you have an electrical impulse, something's going to happen. What? A mechanical response. And don't let that freak you out. It's like you want to plug in your hair dryer to the electricity, turn it on, it'll blow warm air and you can dry your hair. You can plug in the vacuum cleaner to the outlet on the wall, turn it on, and it will suck up the dirt off your floor. So the same thing with our heart. If we have electricity, the heart will do something for us. So here is your first crack at an electrical term. If a heart chamber, whether it's the atria or the ventricles, is in a state of electrical depolarization, that's just an electrical term. You just need to know the term. We don't need to explain it. Nurses, I'm not an electrician. You aren't either. And NCLEX is not going to say, explain depolarization. They want to know what's happening. So if a chamber, any chamber is in a state of electrical depolarization, it will contract. Push out your blood, are called systole. So if these are my atria and they are depolarized, they will push. That's what you need to know. No more than that. Then, after a chamber has pushed out its blood, it's empty, so it's time to fill back up. So watch what's going to happen. Another electrical event. If any chamber is in the state of repolarization, then what's going to happen? It's going to relax and fill back up with blood. And that's called diastole. So just to recap for you, if you're going to depolarize, you're going to repolarize. So depolarization, repolarization, push, fill, contract, relax, systole, diastole. Thank you, electrolytes. And this is what you got. Now, my sound man here, my husband, is going to play a little bit of a song, and I'm going to act it out. So here comes the dancing nurse, and we're going to show how this works. Atria, ventricles, atria, ventricles, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. Atria, ventricles, 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 atria, ventricles. Day will come, day will come. And there you go. That's how the beating heart works. Top of the heart first, atria, followed by the bottom part of the heart and the ventricle second. Thank you, electrolytes traveling down your pathway. And just to go back to the pathway, remember, it's the SA node to the AV node to the bundle of His to the bundle branches to the Purkinje fibers. SA, AV, bundle, branches, fibers. Here's what electrical activity is going to look like printed out on paper. And as you can see, we got a hump there, a tall spiky thing, and another hump. And that's what that electricity, as it's traveling down that pathway, is going to look like on paper. And when you see that, and it looks a certain way, you're going to have a normal rhythm from the top of the heart to the bottom of the heart. So, the electrocardiogram, or the ECG or EKG, is going to show you these two humps and a spiky thing. And we need to know what they represent. It's not hard. Please, please, this is not difficult. The first thing you see is the P wave. That's right here. That all that means, and you want to see that, that is your SA node firing, and the top chambers called the atria are depolarized and they will push. That is what that P wave means. Then you have this little flat line here, and that's called the PR segment. And that represents simply hold it at the AV node. That's the electricity pausing for just a brief second to allow the blood to get to the ventricles. Then if you look at this together, let me erase this. If you look at the P wave plus the PR segment together, you look at that, that's called the PR interval. And what that represents is simply the SA node fired, your atria were depolarized, they pushed, and then the blood went down to the AV node, hold it. That's all that is. And so this part right here is the top part of my heart, or the atria, electrically. Now what you have next is this tall spiky thing called the QRS right here. And that looks like an upside down V, and V for ventricles. That is a big electrical amplitude of electricity going down to my ventricles, the bottom part of my heart. And then they will be depolarized and they will push. And then the next thing you see is the T wave. The ventricles have pushed out their blood. Now it's time for them to be repolarized and refill back up with blood. So actually, the QRS and the T are the bottom parts of my heart, the ventricles. So just to recap, all the way up to this Q here, that's the top part of your heart, and it's been depolarized. Then QRS all the way over to the T is the bottom part of your heart, and that's been depolarized as well. Now, remember, when the ventricles push out their blood, they're going to fill back up, okay? And the same thing will happen with the atria. And you said, well, the atria pushed. Where did they fill back up, Miss Livingston? And I said, well, they're filling up during the QRS. So when the ventricles are pushing, the atria are filling, because I told you when the top chamber on one side is doing one thing, the bottom chamber is doing the exact opposite. And the EKG can only pick up on one electrical event at a time. And this QRS for this ventricle is so big that the EKG can't even pick up on an atrial refill. It just can't, you can't do it. So here's your P, QRS, and T, top part of the heart to the bottom part of the heart. Atria contract, ventricles contract, ventricles relax. And if you put them, two of them side by side, then you got P, QRS, T, P, QRS, T. You have one whole heartbeat followed by another whole heartbeat, and so forth and so on. And you line them up one right after the other, and you'll be able to see that on an EKG screen, on an EKG piece of paper. So to wrap this up, normal sinus rhythm, NSR, normal sinus rhythm. When you see that, I want you to think, that's normal. Normal rhythm. And you might say, what does sinus mean? Well, it's not these sinuses in your head. It's the sinus node, the sinoatrial node, the SA node, the automatic pacemaker of your heart, is firing and sending the pathway or the electricity down the pathway. That's what normal sinus rhythm is, and it looks a certain way. It has certain characteristics. Normal sinus rhythm will have a P, a QRS, and a T. P, QRS, T. It'll have a PR interval, that this piece, P wave, hold it, that lasts between 0.12 and 0.20 seconds. That's all it takes to depolarize your atria and then hold the electricity at the AV node. And you'll hear more about that in a future lecture. Your beating will occur regularly or consistently, like beat, 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 beat. And if you look here, beat, 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 beat. consistent, consistent, consistent. It will have a rate of 60 to 100 beats a minute for an adult at rest. And if you see these things, that means the SA node generated electrical activity, sent it down your pathway, and the heart responded with a beat, just like it was meant to do. And that, my friends, is normal sinus rhythm and cardiac electricity. So thank you for being here today. Please feel free to leave me some comments of anything that you would like for me to help you with. I really want to get you unconfused so you'll be a better nurse. Thank you, and see you next time.